60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
So I'm in Lagos State, the former capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It remains its commercial capital even after the capital was moved to Abuja. Now, come the 11th day of March 2023, Lagosians will be going to the polls to elect a governor. The question, therefore, is, will they be giving Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, a second term as governor and deputy governor of the state, or will there be a new political party in charge of the administration of Lagos State? Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, the deputy governor of Lagos State, joins me on the program today. So the first question, I guess, is it confirmed now that you are the running mate of Governor Sanwo-Olu in 2023, or as rumor would have it, you are headed to the Senate?
Well, I think the primaries have been conducted.
Yes.
We have our senatorial candidates, and well, like you said, it's rumors, so it's just not correct.
Yes. So in 2023, on the 11th of March, you will be the running mate of Governor Sanwo-Olu?
Yes.
For sure. All right. So, one of the reasons I asked that question was the rumors started after the PDP's Lagos State governorship candidate, Jide Adediran, selected a female as his running mate. So, of course, and Lagos State has always had a deputy governor who's female. So I guess many people sort of believed that story when it came out. It looked like the APC was jittery about the direction the PDP was going.
Well, I'm not sure why people were reasoning along that line. For us, it's about processes. So processes, ideas through up our candidates. And so it can be female, it can be male. And I hope one day and pray that one day he'll be a female governor. So it's processes that threw up our candidates in most cases. So, and remember, we have run an election. Lagosians voted for us 4 years ago.
Yes.
During that time, PDP, Mr. Agbaje, has a female. So why people now reasoned that we will be jittery because of that, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
So I think it's part of politics. I think that some people in PDP started pushing that narrative, trying to say if they can distort all, but how that will distort is just what I don't understand. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Right. And so since we're talking about politics now, 15 out of 18 political parties have fielded candidates for the Lagos State Governorship election. Is there any of the parties that you're worried about?
Look, there will always be competition. It's welcome. People will bring their ideas.
Yes.
Like I said, we are in government and we have records.
Yes.
We have records to show. We can show what we've done. It's easier for you if you're outside and then, what some people call the armchair quarterbacks. So you can sit there and say, oh, this is done, this is possible. But the reality is, do you have that experience? Have you done it before?
Yes.
What is your pedigree?
Yes.
And, like I used to say, you can be a good cook. You think you're a good cook. If you are cooking for a lot of people, you must also understand where the food is.
Yes.
Because some people want to lock that food somewhere and throw the key away. So it's important for you to understand even that environment. Where is the food? Where is the rice? Where is whatever? Yeah. That's what we come to the table with. We are good cooks. We understand the foods are. We understand the people that wants to eat it and the time that they want to eat it.
Yes.
So coming in and saying, oh, I understand it. Well, come and show it. So we are not, it's not something that we should worry about. We worry about our citizens. What are their needs? Are we fulfilling those needs? And we do stakeholders meeting to meet people to understand their needs and try to fulfill it. That's what we in government should worry about. We are not worried about the number of political parties. People will form political party, it's their right, and they will have candidates. But then the citizens will judge.
Will judge. All right. So, isn't it a challenge that this is the first election in a couple of years that the APC's presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will not really be focused on? People look at the whole scenario and say, he's focused now on the presidential ticket. It looks like his flanks are open in Lagos State, and this is the best time for anyone who wants to take Lagos State from the APC to strike.
The last election, Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually campaigned with us.
Yes.
Was during BRF. And that was because he was a sitting governor and BRF was coming in, Governor Fashola was coming in.
Yes.
During Ambode, he didn't campaign with us. During this, our first time of Sanwo-Olu, he didn't
2019.
He didn't campaign with us. Of course, he's always there to offer advice, and he's still there to offer advice. So what people should understand is straightforward.
Yes.
If you have worked a part, you deceive yourself if you say, oh, that man is not relevant.
Yes.
If you have done something that I'm trying to do, if you've been to a place where I'm trying to go to, it is logical to say, oh, I'm going there. When you are going, was there any problem? What were the challenges you faced? So that I can just avoid those challenges. So that's just it.
Yes.
So the essence is to understand everybody, whether you're a president, you need a mentor. You need people that can tell you the truth.
Yes.
And that don't actually need anything from you. So they can tell you. So that's what Ashwaju is to us. To say, oh, I'm not sure your policy makes sense. Why? And then you debate it. Yes. Oh, this is my experience. This is my experience. So it's not a question of him campaigning with us or going, no. But he's doing this presidential campaign. We will also offer advice.
Yes.
And say, no, sir, we can't do this. So it goes both ways.
What you say is interesting because the perception out there is that he imposes his opinions, he, kind of dictatorial, for want of a better word to use. But you are telling me now that healthy debates happen.
Even when he was governor, he was not dictatorial as a governor. There are memoranda that he brought to the Executive Council that the Executive Council actually shut down.
Defeated?
Yes, defeated. Most of his colleagues could not believe it. So he brought memoranda. One of them was during, I think, one of the Islamic festival, and they wanted to buy things, and we said, no, why are you, what is this? It's not, said, well, to assist people to do this, we said, well, there is a better way to do that.
Yes.
And we shut down the memo. When we were about building the Lekki Link Bridge, during BRF, he had an argument with us and said, well, we are trying to do the rail, can we not focus on one? Yes. And I said, well, we can solve this quickly. So he said, well, if you can, then, but my thinking is, but we discussed it for about 2 hours.
Yes.
And he said, oh, okay, I think if we can do the rail and this together, no problem. As long as so that we don't again also, how do you intend to fund it and so on. So we always have discussions. But to say that it's dictatorial, I think it's just Well, people just say it out there. I don't know where they got it from.
Yes.
But it's not true.
That perception is wrong.
It's not true.
There's some unresolved issues, in my opinion, that I think the APC and your administration needs to focus on before this governorship election in Lagos State. For instance, the issue of secrecy in governance. When will Lagos State domesticate and implement the Freedom of Information Act 2011?
So when you say secrecy in government,
Yes.
what do you mean? So
I mean, for instance, this Lekki concession company, people are finding out now that actually it's not a private company, it's a part of Lagos State, and the threat.
No, but it was out there. This was how it started.
Yes.
Sorry, let me
Go back. Yes.
I was in a bank some years back, and somebody was saying exactly this. And I asked him, what is the website of Lagos State? And he doesn't know. I said, these questions you are asking me is on the website. So the budget of Lagos State every year is on the website. So you can go there and see it, but he doesn't even know.
Yes.
That he doesn't know the website.
All this information is out.
Exactly. So the bottom line is, so the question is, how are we communicating with the people? Do they know the website? Do they know that it should be there? Are people checking? So this information are out there. Now, it was a concession.
Yes.
It was a concession. And the concession is that, okay, the only way it will make sense for us is to have 3 toll gates. That's the agreement we signed.
Yes.
But we realized during implementation, when we said, you can't have 3 toll gates. Again, so it means that we are sort of breaching an agreement. We say, okay, don't worry. If that's the case, what is the value? What are you losing?
Yes.
How can we do it? And then at a stage, they also said they want to increase the toll. We said, no, you can't.
Yes.
So that's why we said, okay, no problem. We buy you out. So it was in the public domain. So when people say, and this happened the last 2 years of Governor Fashola.
Yes.
That's about 7 years ago. So when people say, well, maybe we didn't put it out there enough, because if we put it out there, maybe that's our fault.
Yes.
But those are discussions that were happening, meetings, and we are going. When the second toll gate, we have to move it because the community said it's affecting their shrine.
Yes.
And then we went to the community. It was a public meeting, and we explained, so people were there. So these are things that have been happening with citizens' involvement.
Yes.
However, I mean, it's not everybody that can come to the meeting.
Yes.
Are we propagating that information enough? Maybe
not enough.
Maybe not enough. But to say that it's not correct. The reality is we do, for example, every time before budget.
Yes.
Before budget, we go to town hall meetings across the state. We just did that of Badagry on Thursday. And the hall was filled up. People will ask questions. Okay, because they will say, oh, we put in this road last year. Have you done the road? Well, we've done some. We've not been able to do some.
Yes.
So the people that have the time for those type of, they are coming. It's public, and it was on TV.
And it's a good thing you mentioned Badagry, because that's another area that it looks like your administration hasn't paid attention to.
We have.
And the PDP candidate is trying to cash in on that.
So when you say we have
promises,
promises are cheap.
Yes.
Promises are cheap. People just say. So when you say the Badagry is a location where a lot of tourism activity is taking place, but tourism is a destination. You must get there.
Yes.
So the Lagos-Badagry Expressway is consuming enormous amount of resources. So a lot of people don't even understand. So when from Maza to Kokomaiko, requires 1.8 million cubic meters of sand. 1.8 million cubic sand.
Because that area is waterlogged.
So think about it.
Yes.
A tipper, that tipper that you use to carry sand, can only take 5 cubic meters. So divide 1.8 million by 5. So you have about 300,000-400,000 tippers
to supply
to supply the sand. So the logistics of even doing it without paralyzing the state in itself, you have to think about it.
Yes.
So we are not just a state where, and then you are doing sound replacement. So the reality is that you must get to that destination. We are doing rail from the blue line is starting from Okokomaiko to Marina.
Yes.
So we are doing the water end of it, which is the most expensive, the most
Part of
difficult.
it, yes.
Because the other one from Orile to is on land. Is on grade. So now, to do that, we are the only state or the only sub-sovereign in the world
Yes.
that is doing rail on a balance sheet. Every other place must be national. So where is that going to? It's going to Badagry. So you understand? So
Yes.
in terms of, because those are the areas that will be the future of our state later.
Yes.
Ikeja is congested everywhere, but Badagry
It's
Ekpe,
still
and
a
the
bit
rest. So
free.
you understand? So we are doing, there are many housing states that we've done there. We are doing housing in Najara. We've done the one, we commissioned the one in Dale. So a lot of the people that say this,
Yes.
they don't even know Badagry. They don't even know Badagry. Because if you know Badagry, Hospital Road is being done as I'm speaking to you.
Yes.
We commissioned the other road by the other side in More. We've done, so a lot of projects is going on in Badagry, just like every part of the state. But the most important thing for us that we are focusing on is finish the Lagos Badagry, finish the rail. It changes the whole
So
of
that
Badagry.
people can actually get
It
there.
changes Badagry totally. Because like we said, it's a destination.
Yes.
And we are doing the marina. The point of no return is already being done. So, but people need to get there. The moment people are able to get there with rail and good, end of game for Badagry. It changes the dynamics of that city. The port, we had a meeting there about 4 or 5 weeks ago with the governor and myself. We were all there. We're talking about Badagry Port. The concession includes us, Lagos State, us, federal government, and the consortium.
Yes.
We went there. We resolved all the issue. Federal government just approved it. So a lot of things is coming to Badagry.
Are we still going to pay tolls though at the Lekki gates? Toll gates.
The Lekki
Toll gates.
Yes, absolutely. So remember, there are so many things that actually happens there. So when you have a breakdown, there are tow trucks that actually come and take you off, and then you must be able to ring fence that place in terms of, okay, when anything happens in terms of the road, how do you fix it?
Yes.
So the essence is taken away from the balance sheet of Lagos State, so that it doesn't compete with every
Other
other.
things.
Exactly. So that's the essence. And and you remember, you must also limit the vehicle that goes to Lekki. So
Why?
Because people, remember, if you take Lekki Link Bridge, for example,
Yes.
from this, in front of this house,
Yes.
you take it, from the beginning to the end is about 3-4 minutes if there is no traffic.
Yes.
If you take the other one, it's about almost 35 minutes. So people, Danvo drivers and the rest, should not use that place as a shortcut. You understand? You must also protect that community. You must protect the residents, the businesses in the area.
Yeah.
That's why you ask the question why. That's why you have congestion charge in London. So it's not because they don't want, but you must protect the environment.
Yes.
Basically, those are the reasons. You must preserve the sanctity of everywhere. So the fact that you have good roads, you have this, doesn't mean it
Disturb
becomes
the residents.
Exactly. And so those are some of the reasons you must not allow just all the vehicles to just be going to that place, because if not, you destroy the place.
Join us again after the break. Well, welcome back. Let's talk about the motorcycle taxis, or what we like to call Okada in Lagos here. Why don't we just ban Okada outright in Lagos State? The rumor out there is that the Lagos State government plans to ban it, but after the election. And that's because they are an army of voters that other parties are hoping to woo towards the governorship election.
We had meetings with all the 109 DPOs,
Yes.
all the area commanders, all the deputy commissioner of police. The commissioner of police was there, and so everybody in Lagos State. And it was a unanimous decision given the statistics that we see in terms of crime. And we must make it clear.
Yes.
We are not saying all Okada riders are criminal. No.
Yes.
A small percentage of them uses it as vehicles for drugs, for all sorts. But the bottom line is, the plan was actually to ban out. However, how do you implement? You use police to implement it.
Yes.
So you use police to say, okay, you can't. So is there the capacity, or we just talk?
We don't have the personnel.
So do we have the capacity to say across board, let us ban? So it has nothing to do with politics. We understand that some of them are our citizens, some of them are not.
Yes.
Some people came from Niger, from Chad and the rest.
Yes.
So we don't have responsibility for them. They can, but for our citizens, that's why we started training them. That's why we bought the last mile cars. That's why we have the Lagos ride, so that people can leave that employment and take on other things. So,
Yes.
but the bottom line is, how do you actually implement this thing? So let's start from somewhere, let it be clear,
Yes.
and then after some time we move to other side, and then so that we can see, and people can see, citizens can also see the difference between those areas where it's implemented and where. So, for example, since we started, the number of direct accidents related to Okada in those local governments,
the
six local governments
Yes.
has gone down drastically by 80% on the average. So human life must matter to us.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. So if it's only to even save people from dying, then it's worth it, it makes sense. So, but not doing it across the state
Yes.
is not necessarily, because, and then remember, even the federal government was now mulling the idea of banning across the country.
Yes.
So you can see that we are right. The challenge for us is, how do we implement it? So if our police are saying, let's do it in phases, that's how we can cope, then you must listen to the people that we implement.
But why crush them? Isn't there any other thing they can be used for? Can't they serve any other function? It seems such a waste, to seize these motorcycles and crush.
Well, so, everything is also based on experience. So
Yes.
what you realize is that if you don't crush,
Yes.
it finds a way back into the system. And people also need to see that it's not that we are taking it and selling it to get on our, no.
Yes.
We are saying that we don't want it as part of the transportation architecture of our state. So it's not to, maybe there are some other people that want it in their state, that's fine. But we are saying for Lagos, it's not part of the, so
Yes.
the essence of caution is to show the people that we don't have any ulterior motives.
Yes.
And then from our experience, we realize that you 300, before a month, about 200 get back into the system through whatever means. So it's better for us to crush it, because it's not me or it's not Mr. Governor that will be in charge of exactly. So, but the bottom line is, we don't want it back into the system. The moment it's gone, it's gone.
Yes.
And that's what influenced the decision to actually crush them.
And what is the rationale behind punishing the passengers now? One of the announcements from the state government
It has always been part of the law.
Yes.
It has always been part of the law. So what happens is that the law intends to also discourage passengers from actually taking it.
Yes.
To say, well, look, don't cause, so because remember, when Okada take one way, or when they break the line, they are carrying people. So the urge to go and carry people is what makes them to break the law. So part of the problem is, a lot of them don't even understand traffic signals. They don't realize the need for traffic light. They don't obey it. So that's what the problem. So why? Is because I have a need to carry somebody from A to B.
Yes.
And that's so, if you are part of that, you have a responsibility to also say that, no, first of all, even where it's acceptable, don't take one way.
Yes.
Don't take me and don't go and take one way.
Yes.
Don't take me, don't break light. Obey the rules. And then if not, let me get down.
Yes.
So I think we are making citizens also to be responsible, because when their accident happens, most of the time it is the passenger that gets affected most. So it's a way to also say, no, don't let us go and kill ourselves.
All right. So let's talk about this upgraded smart and multi-purpose resident ID card. I remember that the former governor, Fashola, actually started this Lagos State residence card. What was wrong with that card, and what is this new card bringing in beyond, to assuage suspicions of people like myself who think that this card is another form of Big Brother watching and monitoring our financial transactions?
The essence is whatever you cannot measure, it's difficult to manage it.
Right.
So how many people live in this area? So maybe we even have enough teachers. Maybe we are just concentrating wrongly or distribution is wrong. What you need is the data. But we realize that there are so many cards in our system.
Yes.
They are in a card, this card, that card. How do we make this card usable to everybody that has it? So for example, that card now, if you have a LASRA card, you can actually use it on our bus. You can use it to get to a ferry. So if we now say, okay, all our students is 50% discount, it's easy for us to manage. So it's as simple as that. It's how do you manage your data? How do you manage your citizens in terms of input and output? That's the bottom line. So it's just about information management and the ability for us to say, okay, if you say you go to our hospital and we say 60 and above is, so how do we know? How do we know 60 and above? Is it just because you tell me you are 60? But if we have your data, we know from the system automatically without you asking. And then in terms of payment, that's all.
So will there be any penalty for not registering for this card if you're resident in Lagos?
Well, not penalty. The only thing is it might be difficult going forward for you to access services.
Right. What kind of services?
Well, so for example, I mean, look, if you have a child in a public school, to register child, we must know that you are a citizen of Lagos State. You are a resident of Lagos State.
Yes.
So we must know what even we expect next year. How many child? So if, for example, we've registered everybody now,
yes.
we know the 4-year-olds, we know the 3-year-old, so we can plan ahead of time. So, but if you are not just coming without and then, so it becomes a problem for us. So, and then, so that's why we have a lot of crowded classroom, because the truth is we don't know who is going to register. Yes. We don't know. And like I said, what you cannot measure is difficult to manage it. So the essence for us is so you might, ultimately, you might be denied
services.
That's what it means. Because if somebody is registered and we have to take 3 out of 4, it's the registered people that will get it. Because those are the people that we prepared for. So that will be the priority. That's just it. Yes. But the essence is not necessarily to punish people. The essence is actually to say, we need this information to plan. Yes. We can't plan for you if we don't have information about you.
And one of the rules that I wanted you to explain further is that new visitors to Lagos who plan to live in Lagos for more than 2 consecutive months are required to register. Okay, so if you're staying for 2 consecutive months or more, but what if you're going back to your state? Will there be any financial constraints?
No, there's nothing financial. It's active, resident, and passive.
Right.
So during that 3 months that you are in Lagos, you are contributing to our waste, you are contributing to traffic congestion, and so on.
Yes.
How do we know? So it's just to say that, well, if you are staying here for less than, it's actually 90 days.
Yes.
If you are staying here less than 90 days, okay, maybe it doesn't matter. But if it's more than that, then we need to know. So that we know, okay, you are coming in, you are going from this, the population of this area is increasing and so on. So again, it's for us to plan adequately long term. But if you are just staying, you are here for 2-3 weeks, well, it's okay. You are just in and out.
Yes.
But if you are staying longer than 90 days, then you need to actually get a card.
Talking about waste management now, there have been a few challenges. You know, my estate where I live, for instance, sometimes months on end you don't see the PSPs who manage the waste, even other properties that we manage in Oniwongo. So we're seeing a return of these cart pushers and wheelbarrow operators. I'm wondering why the state government is not trying to incorporate these cart pushers and wheelbarrow into the refuse disposal service. You know, since it seems as if the PSP operators cannot manage the over 10,000 tons of waste generated a day in Lagos.
Well, I mean, if you give specific problems, I think we should resolve it. We should resolve it in terms of that particular area. So the question is, if you have a PSP that's not coming, then maybe we need to change them, because it seems to me that if Loma is aware, there are many PSP that wants the location. So we just need to. So Loma just needs to be informed. We need to be able to rationalize it. So cash pushers cannot be part of the system. Right. Part of the problem that we have with them is, where did they dispose it? Some of them actually dispose in our drains. And therefore you see that you clear drains and then the next day. So the bottom line, some of them actually will go to the right places. Yes. But a certain percentage also will not go. Yes. So we cannot monitor them. It's difficult. That's why we don't encourage it. But if there are specific PSPs that are not, I think that it's important to let Loma know. Okay. So those areas, so that either they change them or find out what the problem is, and then it can be resolved, because that is actually how they make money. From collecting the waste. Yes, from collecting the waste.
For the residents watching this interview now, if you're having challenges in your area with the PSPs, who do we call?
Well, Loma or Ministry of Environment. Right. So that's the parent ministry that regulates Loma, but Loma deals directly with this thing. So if they can get to Loma, if they are not getting any response, then the Honorary Commissioner for Environment, Ministry of Environment, the website, the numbers are there. So let them just call the right people.
How many times a week are they meant to collect the waste?
It depends on the area. So there are some medical waste. So like hospitals and I think they go daily. Right. So but for most residents, twice a week most of the time. For market, it's also daily. So it depends on, Loma measures what you generate, and based on that they allocate location. There are some places that are 3 times a week. But so for example, my resident area is twice a week. Right. So where I used to live is twice a week. Yes. But I know that there are some areas that are 3 times a week. Hospitals and the rest usually daily because of it's a medical waste. Exactly. And then markets are also daily. So it depends on the volume that is generated.
Yes. The relaunch of Jigibola Health Mission and of course the Bosco outreach, there's always this perception that one man owns Lagos State. He holds the state by the jugular. And I'm thinking it doesn't help matters when the state government sort of personalizes these outreaches on healthcare programs. These interventions are paid with taxpayers' money. So why doesn't the Lagos state government just say health mission, so people still know? If you say like health mission 2022, people will know that it happened during your administration, rather than personalizing, naming them, and giving your opponents ammunition to use against you in accusations of personalization.
So it was conceived during Ashwaju's administration, right? Just like the one-day governor, and so many other things. That
spelling bee
and all the rest. And we just maintain it. So it's not the citizens that benefit actually knows. So the people that comment, that are not part of it, might not know, but they might not understand. But the bottom line is, so it's a brand, and people are attached to that brand. Right. Therefore, it makes sense to use it. So it's not, well, he conceptualized it, and it was named Jigibola at the time. Yes. Now, it has gone further than that. And then, in fact, a lot of it are not even necessarily government funds. Some of them are what we get from partners, US and the rest. Yes. Of course, Lagos State also put in money. Now, it has gone to even hearing aids, because part of the things that we are doing is checking what are the major problems. So now they give them glasses, they check hearing, they do dental. So it's a health mission, but because the brand, people already in the various areas
associate the brand
exactly
with that
the
name.
moment they hear Jigiba, they will come.
Yes.
So if it's working, why do you want to
change
break
your
it?
winning formula?
Exactly. So the reality is that people are used to it. They know what it means.
Yes.
So they might not, some of the people might not even be educated and so on. But the moment they hear Jigibola, they know what it means. And therefore they will come, they will check their ears, they will check their teeth, they will check their hairs, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So now it goes beyond just the eye. But because the brand seems to have settled down with the people,
yes,
we don't want to uproot
retain that name.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back, I want you to talk more on this outreach. You know, who is eligible, and is there any form of payment that will be made? Is it a partisan intervention? So join us again after the break. Welcome back. Now, before we went on the break, we're talking about the outreach intervention by the Bosco Outreach. So, who is eligible? Is it a thing that I need to belong to the APC, for instance, to benefit from it? Where do I go to access it if I'm a resident now? Will I need to show my residence card, for instance, to be able to benefit from any of these services in the outreach?
Well, so the way it starts, the way they do it is we have a lot of volunteers.
Right.
We have doctors, we have nurses, we have all sorts of people. We have beneficiaries that are now volunteering, people that have, so they volunteer, they do all sorts of things.
Right.
So, for example, the last set of mission, I think they were in about 10 local governments. So usually they publicize it, anybody can come. And they just be resident in that local government.
Yes.
And then you come, they set up, so the mission will set up like a lab, they do blood work, they check this, they do their dental, they do their, so anybody, you don't have to have anything, really. But going forward again, it would be nice to check that you are even, have a LASTRA card to make sure that you are a resident of Lagos.
Yes.
But as of today, you just, everybody, you
don't
come,
need the card.
and then you just sit down, people attend to you, and so a lot of it, the doctors, because these are doctors, nurses that actually work in other places, private sector. So that's why we must announce ahead of time, plan with them, so that they can donate 2 days in that week or whatever to come, and then some of our hospital, and then they come to do what they have to do within that, and then take off back to their work. Okay. But anybody is entitled to come.
And where do we go? The local government?
It's usually in the, well, it's not necessarily in the local government. So like I said, the people coordinating it are not necessarily civil servants.
Right.
They are friends of government and people that are interested in this type of missions. You know, we've brought people from Israel, from all over the world, to that, done surgery, done all these things.
Yes.
So when it's coming, so most of the time is local governments.
Yes.
Most local government, Shomolu local government, Mushin local government, and so on and so forth. But we also did one in police college. So all sorts of people will come. Right. But it's all over the place.
It's all right.
Badagry and the rest and the rest.
You mentioned the trains earlier on. So where are we with the trains, the blue line, the red line? When are we actually going to get on the train and use it? So
the train is moving very well. We've taken delivery of a coach. Is sitting right there at National Theatre, that station. So we are, by Wednesday, the last beam will be launched.
Right.
By Wednesday, 17th of August. The last beam that takes you to Marina will be launched, which means that infrastructure is set.
Right.
Now, we need the rolling stock. For the blue line, the rolling stock is coming from China, so very soon hopefully that will get here. We are hoping that we can start testing so that the rail
can see that it actually works.
Exactly. So there are international standards. You must test for minimum 2-3 months.
Right.
It will just be running, not with a lot of passengers, maybe 5-10 people, and then so you test it, you make sure that you remove all the kinks and whatever. So hopefully by December that will start for the blue line. The red line is also moving. As you can see, the governor went to Milwaukee to actually bring in those coaches. So those coaches have now, it's not going to come like that. It's going to be disassembled,
and then
taken to the port, and then reassembled here. So it's now coming. Hopefully it will get here quickly, and then it can be reassembled. As you can see, we are visiting all the stations, all the stations in Agege, in Ikeja, in Yaba, in Mushin. They are all moving very well. We just visited last week. So people can see that it's working, and then by the time, hopefully by next quarter of next year, the red line can also start in terms of testing, and then people can start riding it.
On them, hopefully before we vote.
Well, I mean, it's what it is. So even bringing things down because of the war in Ukraine is affecting
things.
Yeah, so hopefully, we can get it down here quick.
I want to take you to the matter of that Chrisland school video. I was reading that the first distributor of that video, a 40-year-old man, has been arraigned under the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency Law 2021. I was surprised that Lagos State had that kind of law, and that was an offense, So I wanted you to talk about that law and, possibly the matter. What would the charge have been? That he was distributing something because there was a minor involved? Or is it something that comes under cybercrime?
So there is an agency.
Yes.
The Sexual Abuse and Domestic Violence Agency. So we have an agency. In order to set up the agency, there must be a law that set up that agency. What would their function be? So one of the things we notice is that in our society, there is enormous amount of domestic violence and abuse, and people just don't talk.
They internalize it.
They just internalize it. They just take it. Children are being abused, and so that's when the law came up to say, look, this is wrong. This will not be accepted in our state. And then distributing pornography material is actually against the law. Since, not even now.
It's not a new law.
That's not a new law. That's been on the books for so long. However, with the agency now being active, they are now enforcing the law. You understand? So, but again, it's for the court to decide the guilt or not the guilt.
Yes.
But we must also be careful, especially when children are involved.
Yes.
So the reporting a situation is different from just circulating it. And then the reality is what we saw was what we saw. However, we don't also want to destroy lives of children.
Yes.
In the process. So I think that's why they went to court. But like we said, the court will make a decision as to the merit or demerit of the case.
Okay, so speaking to residents who are watching us now, if you know of any cases of domestic violence, either against women or children, what is the step that they should take?
So there are interestingly, there are many NGOs in Lagos, many NGOs, a lot of them, that actually also focus on this. In fact, a lot of the cases comes from the NGOs because they are in different communities, and people go and report to them. And the NGOs will
now
report to Lagos
State
State. Exactly. So sometimes they go to, but because they know we have an agency, and they can call the agency, and the agency comes in. So we also have shelter. If a woman or whoever is being abused, we have shelters
where they can
where we can actually accommodate them safely.
Yes.
I think it's about 40-bedroom house or whatever that is decent, that is nice, well maintained, so that you can protect them so nobody needs to take abuse. No woman needs to take abuse from anybody. So that if that is happening, go and report to your DPO, call somebody. Yes. So there's a domestic violence hotline so that people can call. So that at least if anything is happening, please protect yourself, because most people die from this state. So
Yes.
we must take it serious. And spreading pornographic material is also against, so people should actually go and educate themselves and
Yes.
see that they are not running foul of the law,
Yes.
of the land.
All right. So as recently as July 2022, you were intervening to calm protests against alleged manipulation in the last party primaries conducted in some local government areas of the state. We know that the APC is fractured in about 11 or more states. Is the APC fractured in Lagos State?
Well, I mean, so when there are primaries, usually there will be different
Yes.
opinions. So in some cases, 21 people
We're vying for a post.
we vie for a post, and everybody will think that they win. So
Yes.
which is not
Normal,
possible.
yes.
So it's only one person that will win. But so one of the things that we're trying to do is how do you manage it? So it's a normal occurrence in the political space. The one you are mentioning was people came from mainland local government to protest that. And it was not even the House of Assembly or reps, or it was the party structure.
Right.
That they are not happy with the composition of the party structure. We say, but it was based on a process that all of you agreed on. What happened?
Yes.
And so that's what they came to protest, and then I intervened. We've held meetings after that, and
Yes.
I hope that everybody is calm now.
Because you know that it was a fractured APC that made the party to lose in Osun State. So, hopefully you all are taking fractures very seriously now, going forward.
Well, I mean, I think the prognosis of Osun loss is a bit more complex,
Right.
than that. But it is what it is. So, but of course, in any situation, you don't want to be divided.
Yes.
But as it happens in our party, it happens in other party. So, but it's normal political process.
Do you think yourself and Governor Sanwo-Olu deserve a second term?
Oh, absolutely. So if you look at some of the things we've done, and part of the progression that we've seen in our state. So for example, if you look at education, for example, last year, the WAEC, 89%, yes, 89% of our students are sat in public school.
Yes.
Passed with 5 credits, including English and maths. So we are going from 60 to 80. So in education, so for our primary schools are now awesome in terms of all our teachers now have tablets, they are georeferenced, they can see all the contents, and we can monitor each teacher in the classroom. Because look, it's important to fix the classrooms, the chairs are important,
The infrastructure and
but
all
the
that.
reality is
Yes.
that the common denominator, what stays the most in school are the teachers. A teacher can be in school for 30 years. So imagine the number of students that goes through that teacher. So if that teacher is not well trained, if that teacher is not given the right tools,
doesn't have the capacity.
then it's a problem. So we focus on that massively to make sure that our teachers are well equipped, they are well taken care of, and that's why we are taking best teachers, 12 of them, or is it 21 of them got cars, and so on, to make sure that, if I do well, I will be recognized. So that is the most important thing that we see now. How do we motivate our teachers? How do we get them better? How do we sensitize them to make sure that the future of our children is not taken for granted? Yes. So in terms of education, we just spoke about rail.
Yes.
Again, I will say it, we are the only sub-sovereign in the world, not just in Africa, in the world, that's financing rail on a balance sheet. So it's a lot of money. So it's a lot of commitment.
When you say on the balance sheet, you're not borrowing to...
So, borrowing is part of balance sheet.
Right.
You understand? So borrowing is part of balance sheet. But what is important is you have a sustainable portfolio. So for example, we raise bonds, right?
Yes.
During Governor Fashola, we had a series of bonds. That's been paid off because you also have a way to actually pay it.
Yes.
So we have sustainable
bonds. And once
bonds.
you're paying it,
Once
you're
paying
eligible
it,
to
exactly.
receive more.
Exactly, because you see, money is fungible. What you can build today, you might not be able to build it. That rail, for example.
Yes.
That rail, for example, we raised 95 billion with the banks. And then as contracts are done, the consultant checks it, they sign off, the banks pay. So the money is not even with Lagos State government. It's with the banks. But the truth is, if we did not start red line when we did, that 95 billion will be 200 billion today. You know, because dollars increase. Yes. So the reality is, money is fungible. It's not going to wait for you. So if you don't do what you are supposed to do at the right time, you miss that opportunity. Yes. And that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to miss those opportunities. And then we are building Mende to Ojota, and you can see what is happening now. It's a lot of money. We are building new Mercy Hospital. The Mercy Hospital that we know is old. Yes. It's been there. So we are doing roads, we are doing hospitals, and these are signature projects. They are not just small projects, but they change the dynamics. So imagine if you are coming from Maryland, you pass through in front of this hotel, and then you are going to Okwebi. So you know before now you are going to Ojota, you have to make a left to Okwebi and the rest. But now you can go straight. Yes. So that cuts your journey from about 40 minutes to 3 minutes. Yes. So end of game. So the bottom line is, how do we build infrastructure that sustain our state, given the rise in population? That's why we are building the regional road also that takes off from VGC and lands you behind. So it has bridges, it has roads. It's about almost 11 kilometers, and it lands you in Freedom. So because we are trying to separate a lot of traffic from the Lekki Expressway, it's at level 7. So which means it's taking the maximum number. The truth is it cannot take more. And therefore we must find a way of actually making sure that we split that traffic so that people who don't need to take that road can take the other one, at least diverse the traffic so that at least you can protect the road for a long time. So by the time we refix that road, because we've taken it from Eleko Junction coming back to Ekpe, and then it's now coming back from Eleko Junction to Brahmadesoya and ultimately to this side. By the time, and it's concrete, 6 lanes. By the time it gets there and you separated the traffic, you are good to go. So that way, you reduce the volume of vehicle, you expand the road, then of course it makes sense that you have easy
travel time is easier.
Is easier.
Is there any fear of an autogame movement in Lagos?
Well, I mean, our citizens have the right to ask questions. That's the essence of democracy. So it's for us to be prepared to answer those questions and answer it appropriately and show the difference between us and any other team. So like we said, experience is key. We are in a state where we cannot do trial and error.
Would you admit to one thing that you think you and Governor Sanwo-Olu could have done better?
Oh, well, I mean, of course. So the reality is that, why are you building roads and not separating pedestrian from the road? So you must separate pedestrian. So we started, that's when we started building pedestrian walks. So there are many things that we learn from other people. So private sector people come from IT and say, why don't you do this? So we are building the cable infrastructure, metropolitan cable infrastructure. It's part of the ideas of other people, private people that say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Oh, you can do it better this way. Why? So we take ideas from people. That's why we have all sorts of summits. So for example, BRT was outcome of one of the summits in environment and Igbeti. People saying, and then they said they've done it. And we took all the bus drivers and the rest, we took them to Colombia. So that for stakeholders to say it's not, look, these are the things, people that are doing their own buses, whatever, in Colombia, they bought buses, so the first set of blue buses were actually bought by the unions.
You think you're going to win?
I think so. I think the people of Lagos are very, very smart people. They make decisions based on facts and what they've seen.
One of the major things that the opposition says is that the revenue earned in Lagos is not, doesn't match the kind of work that is done on the ground, that it pales in insignificance.
Well, because they are not measuring anything. So when people say that, it's interesting, but it's because they probably don't understand the dynamics of government and the various things that. So Lagos State helps, for example, police to buy fuel.
Fuel?
Yes.
For their vehicles?
Yes, we fuel the vehicles. We have RRS, we have Mopol, we have, of course, you must give them the tools. So everybody knows all these vehicles out there. It costs money. So when people say that it's just because they probably don't understand the depth of what we do in terms of various things. So when you say you buy a tablet for all the teachers, about 6,000 of them,
yes,
of course it's going to cost some money.
Yes.
The training, of course, costs money. The consultant that's training them, but talk to teachers. The investment today in our primary school will probably show in 10 years' time.
Yes.
Because by the time they get to secondary school and so on and so forth. So it's something that works in progress. And then that's why we are seeing the kind of WAEC result. So this kind of investment, people don't visualize it when they make those type of statements.
Yes.
It's because they don't, probably not in that system to understand the volume. But the volume is out there. So the challenge in Lagos is not capacity, it's resources. So people say, oh, Lagos is rich. Well, we try a lot to tap our revenue, but the reality is that the budget of Lagos State today, 1.7 trillion, is less than $5 billion. The budget of the city of New York,
yes,
the budget of NYPD, New York Police Department,
yes,
is about $8 billion. NYPD alone. The Metropolitan Authority that manages the bus and the rail of New York City has a budget of $36 billion. So what are we talking about? So when people say, oh, is it really a lot of money for a population of 22 million? No, it's not.
And still growing.
And it's still growing. Still growing. Especially with the problem now in the northern part, a lot of people are coming to Lagos.
Yes.
A lot of people. They have to be managed. They have to be managed. Yeah. So garbage is going up, transportation needs, and so when people say that, it's lack of understanding of the volume of activities that actually happen in Lagos.
Well, thank you very much, Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, for having me and spending 1 hour with me today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajetunmobi.